So before we launch into World War II, we need to understand a couple of terms. So there's going to be two sides to World War II. One side's going to be the Axis. Now, this is an alliance of countries during World War II consisting of Germany, Italy, and Japan. These are the bad guys. This is the side the Nazis were on. Germany had the Nazi regime. On the other side of it, and this isn't going to be an alliance at the start of the war because it's going to take some time for all these countries to be part of it. The Allies were the good guys, and they were consisting of the major countries of Britain and later the United States and the Soviet Union. The USSR are going to join. Soviet Union is another name that Russia went by at this time period. Now, before we get into the war, we need to understand what nationalism is. Now, there's lots and lots of reasons why World War II started, but one of the big ones was nationalism. After World War I, Adolf Hitler starts rising to power in the 1920s and 30s. Now, Adolf Hitler was very, very jaded by World War I. He had been gassed. He himself was injured. He didn't like the fact that Germany had to pay off the entire debt of the war. He starts getting a lot of people to listen to him. Now, once people start listening to Adolf Hitler, he starts blaming certain groups. Hitler's going to start blaming the Jews for the problems that Germany had. And he's going to use this hatred of them to justify things like the Holocaust and the final solution. So Adolf Hitler gets to power by whipping people into a panic and blaming somebody else and convincing the Germans that they were superior, that the whole world should be German. So he uses his ideas to start invading other countries. Now, World War II breaks out, and what you see in yellow is going to be an Allied country at some point in the war. What you see in red is going to be an Axis country. Take a look at how there's lots more landmass between the Allies than the Axis. This is always a tactical advantage to have. So, how's the war start? World War II officially began when Adolf Hitler invaded Poland. See, there were German-speaking populations in Poland, since Poland was just across the border to the west of Germany. So Adolf Hitler wanted to start there. He needed to start by unifying all ethnic Germans into one territory. Now, he couldn't do this by himself. He needed some backing up to get Poland invaded from the other side. So he has a pact with the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union agrees to invade Poland from the east. Now, Adolf Hitler starts spreading across Europe. He's going to use a policy called Lebensraum. He wants growing space to spread the German ideal of how people should look and act, which was German. Now, where's America during all this? Not doing anything. We weren't too happy with another war breaking out in Europe after we had finished World War I ourselves. So America is staying isolationist. Now, the only other major threat to German dominance was Britain. Britain was an island, and islands are extremely hard to invade. So Adolf Hitler decides to keep Britain out of the war. He's going to try to bomb them and keep them distracted. Day in, day out. Fighter pilots are going to go over the English Channel, drop bombs on the capital city of London to keep the mighty British Empire from going against Germany. Now, the war goes on for a couple of years. From 1939 to 1941, all is good. Hitler's invading countries in Europe, but Hitler makes a giant tactical error. He's going to turn on his partner and invade the Soviet Union. Keep in mind, he had signed a pact with the Soviet Union to invade Poland together. So this is going to come back to bite Hitler. So like I said, Germany was right here. Now this is Poland in the middle, Soviet Union here, and Poland's part of the worst sandwich in world history. So Germans invade from the west, Soviets invade from the east, and Poland becomes the cause of the First World War in 1939. And this is the territory that Nazi Germany is going to control. They're going to go up into the Nordic countries, basically all of continental Europe down to Spain. Spain had their own issues they were working on, so they didn't participate. Switzerland just was like, it's going to remain neutral. So the Germans invade most of Europe. They get into North Africa very slightly. They're going to hit a brick wall when they turn their backs on the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union had oil. The Germans needed the oil to keep the war going. So why is invading the Soviet Union a tactical disadvantage for Germany? Because over time, America is going to get involved in World War II. Now, the Allies are going to start going toward Germany from this direction. Okay. Now, the USSR, once Germany betrayed them, the Soviets are going to go at Germany from this direction. So now they have enemies coming in from both sides. Going against the USSR was the worst tactical decision Adolf Hitler could have made. So back to the start of the war. Now, despite strong isolationist sentiment at home, America was kind of sticking their nose where it didn't belong. See, we had an alliance with Britain. We didn't want to be in the war, but we wanted to make sure Britain didn't fall victim to the Soviets, to the Germans. Sorry. So the United States is going to say, hey, Britain will help you, but we want something. So we send them war supplies. They give us military bases in former British colonies of Bermuda and other islands in the Caribbean. So our Congress is going to put out something called the Lend-Lease Act. We're going to keep sending war supplies to Britain to keep them propped up against Axis powers. Franklin Roosevelt is going to compare this to lending a garden hose to a next door neighbor whose house is on fire. If your neighbor's house is on fire, you should probably give them some water. We wanted Britain to stay okay, so we start sending them supplies. Problem is, this is going to draw Germany's attention. So while we are all feeling patriotic and great, sending weapons overseas, the Germans start coming after us. They want to interfere with that.